Hello and a warm welcome to Tata Sky Family Health. It is a great honor to present a unique dialogue today between two eminent and esteemed doctors, Dr. H.K. Chopra and Dr. Praveen Chandra. Dr. H.K. Chopra, who will be moderating the session, is a senior consultant cardiologist at Medanta Mulchand Heart Institute, Delhi, the president of World Wellness Foundation, and the country head of AHA. He has also been the national president of CSI and IAE. Dr. Praveen Chandra, who is a renowned cardiologist and the main speaker with Dr. Chopra, is the chairman of interventional cardiology at Medanta, the Medicity Gurgaon, and Medanta Mulchand Heart Institute, MMHI Delhi. For today's interaction, we are bringing to you a very new topic of discussion on fam health called TAVI. The information on transcatheter aortic valve implantation is new to our viewers, and through today's session between Dr. Chopra and Dr. Chandra, we hope to bring to you more knowledge about TAVI. Handing over to you, Dr. Chopra.
Thank you, Vishali, for the nice introduction. It's really a great pleasure and honor indeed for me to be here on a very special occasion on the platform of Tata Sky Fam Health. And the occasion is Chopra Chandra Dialogue, CCT, for the first time from India to the world, to enhance the awareness about aortic valve health and TAVI. TAVI is a transcatheter valve implantation with a highly skilled interventional cardiologist. And here we have Dr. Praveen Chandra, a very eminent person and a very eminent interventional cardiologist who is the face of India to the world. What is the main theme of this? The main theme of this dialogue is growing younger and living longer in severe aortic stenosis with TAVI. That's a very important theme. I'm sure Praveen will tell us in detail as to how his patients who were implanted this valve, they are surviving for a longer time. He is the right person to give an answer in our interaction. What are the objectives? The main objective is this is for the first time in the world that we are having an awareness program on the aortic valve and the intervention like TAVI. We also aimed to enhance the awareness about the valve health to have a healthy heart for everybody in this universe. What is the main agenda today? My agenda is to have a very, very interesting dialogue with our eminent speaker, Dr. Praveen Chandra, who will tell us A to Z on TAVI and aortic stenosis. I welcome you, Dr. Praveen Chandra, to this important platform and important dialogue and your words of wisdom on this important issue of TAVI and aortic health. I like to ask you everything in pertaining to public interest. I just like to ask a very simple question to you because people do not know how many valves we have, what is the structure of these valves, what is the function of these valves. We'd like to have your opinion, Dr. Praveen Chandra, sir.
Good morning to you, Dr. Chopra, and the entire team of Tata Sky. And I'm happy that I'm here to share with everybody the new knowledge and the new information which has come for the help of people who were suffering from heart diseases, and in particular valvular heart diseases. And let me tell you, in the last so many years, the only treatment for the valve diseases, like example, since as you already asked me how many valves are there, there are two main valves of the heart. One is the mitral and the other is known as aortic valve. So there are names of these valves. So the aortic valve is a very notorious valve. It starts becoming diseased when people start becoming more advanced in age. And beyond the age of 60 years, approximately 10 to 15% patients start developing this problem in various stages of the development of this disease process. Now, when people beyond the age of 65 or 70 years of age develop this narrowing of the heart valve, which is known as the aortic valve of the heart, then they need some treatment. And the only treatment which was available till now in the last so many years was surgery. And as you can understand, anybody who is going beyond the age of 65 years, 70 years, 75 years, 80 years, and even 90 years, when they have this problem, when they suffer from this disease known as aortic valve stenosis, they need a surgery. But surgery is not possible in more than half of these patients.
If there is an obstruction in the aortic valve or narrowing of the aortic valve, then what are the signs and symptoms produced which a common man should know? Because that's how they will come to us with the problem. So kindly explain as to where is the aortic valve, which part of the heart, and what it does, how many leaflets are there, and what is the function of those leaflets or cusps, like doors. They eject the blood of the left ventricle to the aorta, and then it goes to the whole system. So that means we are all depending on the aortic valve for our health, brain health, kidney health, and the whole body health depends on the function of the aortic valve. Kindly highlight in details so that a common man understands the function of the aortic valve. Dr. Praveen Chandra,
So
sir.
as you already elucidated on this, the function of the aortic valve, this is the main gate from where the blood exits from the heart and goes into the entire body. So when this gate becomes narrow, then there will be less oxygen and blood supply to all the organs of the body, including kidney, including liver, including brain. And when people have disease of aortic valve, which is known as aortic stenosis, then you can imagine the main gate of the heart is closed and they are not getting enough blood. They will feel breathless, they will feel fatigued. And these are the main symptoms of this disease. And many times people think it is because of the aging process, but actually it is not.
I think, Dr. Praveen, you mentioned very rightly that most of the patients, when they have a narrowing of the aortic valve, there is an obstruction to the flow, they may get breathlessness. And number of patients I had seen with you, there are patients who come with us with dizzy spells. They get syncope, they get giddiness, they faint, and they even go to breathlessness, as you just rightly mentioned, fatigue, and even they may get a stroke. So I think all the manifestations of the aortic valve disease should be known to every member of the society because it's very important. As Dr. Praveen Chandra just mentioned, that you get breathlessness and you do not know that you've got underlying aortic valve disease. My next question to Praveen Chandra is, can we do any method of diagnosis clinically, electrocardiographically, echocardiographically, or by CT scan, or there is any other modality by which can say this is a mild aortic stenosis, this is a moderate aortic stenosis, or this is severe aortic stenosis? So I think I'd like to know from you, Praveen, in public interest, what they should know and when they should come to a person like Dr. Praveen Chandra for any kind of intervention. Dr. Praveen Chandra, sir.
So those patients who are having more than moderate to severe symptoms, these are the patients who must undergo, or even mild symptoms, the only first test to be echocardiography, which is very simple. It takes about 10 minutes to do this test. You don't have to get admitted for this test. And this test tells us which stage of the disease you are in. If it is mild, nothing needs to be done. If it is moderate, nothing needs to be done, only follow-up checkups after every 6 months or 1 year. But if it is severe and the patient is having symptoms like breathlessness and giddiness, dizziness, then these patients have to be investigated more. And then the next test which we do in these patients is again a test known as CT scan. In this CT scan, we find out how many leaflets are diseased, what is the extent, and what can be done to these patients.
Another question, Praveen, I think working with you, I've learned that you are very particular. When a patient undergo echocardiography, you want to know the whole area of the valve annulus, how thick it is, how big is the aortic valve annulus. You also see the LVOT diameter, and then you subject your patient to CT angio. And there again, you want to know the details of the opening of the coronary arteries up to the annulus. How much is the distance usually required between the coronary arteries and the aortic annulus from your point of view when you intervene with the patients? And number two, what is the LVOT diameter minimum required for optimizing TAVI, or the annulus size? What should be the annulus size which helps you in deciding or selecting the valve in a particular patient?
So the case selection and the decision to do or not to do is done after a CT scan, because in this procedure, everything is done from outside without opening the heart. So we have to know from the very beginning which size of the valve has to be used, which kind of valve has to be used, and that all depends upon the CT scan findings. So in CT scan, we find that the valve and the distance of the valve from the arteries is okay, then we go ahead. And in anything beyond 10 millimeters is fine. And all the valves starting from 17, 18 millimeter size to going up to 29, 30 millimeter can be done today. Earlier we used to have less sizes, now we have more sizes. And so it is very easy to distinguish and determine what kind of valve has to be used in this particular patient.
What are the exact indications and contraindications for TAVI? And I just like to know, because you are one of the pioneers in TAVI in India. We feel very proud of it. And you got a very long series of patients under you. Who was the first man in the world who brought this concept of TAVI in the world? Please highlight this and tell us in detail about the indications so that a common man understands, and what are the contraindications, how particularly you select your patients. Dr. Praveen, sir.
Okay, so Dr. Chopra, let me start from here, from the very beginning. The beginning starts in the year 1995, when I was training with Dr. Alain Crevier, who is the inventor of this valve. I was with him, and one evening he showed me something in his hand and said that I have implanted this valve in a sheep. So we thought that he's probably just gone little aged and he's not going to do anything serious. But now, after those many years, in 2020, this procedure has become the prime procedure all over the world, and more than 5 lakh valves have been implanted till now. And I'm glad that I was there to see the first prototype of this when Dr. Crevier was doing it in France. This is in north of France. So that is the starting point. And now the second thing is about the, as you were asking about the patient indications. So those are the patients who are having severe symptoms and are having on echo severe disease. That is the straightforward indication of doing this procedure, but only if the patient is beyond the age of 60, 65 years. And surgery cannot be done, or surgery is high risk. And these patients are easily taken for this procedure. And typically the contraindication, which means that be done, I will say at this time, very young patients like 40 years, 50 years are not candidates for this. They are generally going for surgery as of now for this valve treatment.
For example, you see, Dr. Praveen, we see so many patients have got cancer, or we know that survival is not more than 1 year or 2 years, or if they're suffering from other comorbidities like kidney failure, or they are on dialysis after bypass, after angioplasty. How do you decipher who are the candidates where it can be done and who are the candidates where it should not be done, considering their lifespan into consideration?
Yeah. So patients who are very, very weak, very, very sick, who cannot walk, who cannot even move, I don't think this procedure is really useful for these kind of patients. if somebody's longevity is not going expected beyond 1 year or beyond 6 months, I don't think this procedure should be done or should be offered to patients. Even if the patient is 85 years of age, even 90 years of age, and we expect that he's going to live another 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, then certainly this procedure should be done. And as I said, the contraindications, which means that you cannot do, is very, very less. So this is the only contraindication. And if somebody is very young age or has additional valve problems which cannot be handled by transcatheter non-surgical treatment, then only they have to go for surgery. Otherwise, these days, sometimes we do angioplasty and valve replacement at the same time in the same patient, and it works out quite well.
I think the message is very clear for the public that Dr. Praveen Chandra is very firm in his opinion that contraindications are hardly any. And the only point which he mentioned, less than 40 years of age. And he says after 40, I'm sure even 90, he might have done it. I'm sure he will speak when he speak about a series of patients he has done. So there are no contraindications. This is a very, very important information for all of us. And Dr. Chandra is very particular that this is a very safe and effective procedure which can be done at any age. I just one question, Dr. Praveen Chandra, before we really go to the procedure. Is the outcome different in young, middle age, or old age? Is the outcome different in hypertensives and non-hypertensives? Is the outcome different in diabetics and non-diabetics? And is the outcome different in obese and non-obese and in the patients with comorbidities? Or the outcome is all skill dependent or dependent on the aortic stenosis? What are the main factors which determine the outcome in your series of patients, Dr. Praveen Chandra sir?
Yeah, so it's very important to know what is going to be the result of this procedure, as you are asking, in different kind of patients. So let me tell you, this procedure works very well in 99% of patients. There is no problem. The results are quite good, but the only issue is if the patient is very fragile or having serious renal problem, which is kidney problem. In these patients, there can be some issues, but otherwise, in general, if a patient is diabetic, if the patient is having heart disease from the beginning and previous bypass surgery or previous valve surgery, in these patients, all of these patients, it works out quite well. So that is the beauty of this whole thing, because we don't have to do any cut, there is no stitch and no anesthesia. That is the best part.
Can we do it on all the patients who are having cardiomyopathy, like a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, thick myocardium, or a dilated cardiomyopathy with ejection fraction of just 15% or 20%, or you think they are not the candidates?
Very good. So 50% of our patients have very thick myocardium because, as you already know, heart is working so hard in these patients. So the valve and the muscle becomes thick, but there is no problem. These patients do very well. The second is those patients where the heart has become weak. They are about, again, 50% of our patients. In these patients also, this procedure works very well and helps for the heart to improve, and almost within 1 week, their heart becomes normal.
Very nice. I think, Praveen, you got a very beautiful words of wisdom that we can take all high-risk patients for this procedure, and there is very, very good outcome. I think now we'll come to the next important discussion or important dialogue. See, you are a very skilled interventional cardiologist, and you are very skilled in this technique of TAVI. Since I had a privilege of observing this, how you work, how much time you take, I would like to ask you, how do you perform this? What are the prerequisites? How much time does it take? And how long a patient is to stay in the hospital? You mentioned in your statement that you have done the procedure in the patients, 2 procedures together, angioplasty and stenting along with the TAVI. We just like to know, how do you do it? How much time does it take, so that everybody understands it's a non-intervention, non-surgical procedure. I think you kindly explain the potentials of this procedure as compared to the surgical valve replacement. Dr. Praveen sir.
So the interesting part is that in this procedure, it typically takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour from start to finish. Number one. Number two is that the patient is not given any anesthesia. They are conscious, talking to us, and we do it through a small injection in the leg area, from which vein we take the valve inside and put the procedure, and this is known as transcatheter valve procedure. Now, the thing is that many times these patients who are undergoing this procedure, since we have already planned everything, and let me explain to you that this is a very, very planned procedure, which means it is something like flying a plane, that there is a checklist. We cannot, on the midway, say that the petrol is finished or the tire was not checked. Everything has to be checked from the very beginning. So we have a checklist. We run the checklist before we start the procedure so that everything is there. We cannot say, oh, I forgot. So it doesn't work like that.
I think it's very, very important. The total duration you mentioned is very quick. How long a patient is to stay in the hospital?
Yeah, usually the patients stay between 3 to 4 days in the hospital. They are sent to the room in the next day. They can start walking. They keep talking even during the procedure. They can eat their meals within 3 to 4 hours of the procedure, and they can go home in 3 to 4 days time and go back to, if they are working, they can go back to work in 7 days time.
It's fantastic. In 7 days, the patient is back at work. So do you have some rehabilitation protocol or a follow-up protocol in these patients with comorbidities and without comorbidities?
Yeah. So those patients who are very fragile, certainly we give more help to these patients. We provide a very gradual rehabilitation so that it doesn't become too much for their body. But those patients who are healthy, who do not have any serious other problems, they go back to work within 7 days. They can eat normal food. There is no major medicine which has to be given except a tablet of aspirin. So that is the best part. So no, not too many medicines also. Only aspirin 75 once a day, good enough. Because these are tissue valves.
It's a very, very important word you mentioned, that this is a tissue valve. We are not to bother much. We give aspirin or sometimes blood thinners like ticagrelor. I have only one important question, Dr. Praveen. We have so many patients who have coronary artery disease and they have increased atherosclerotic burden. They are metabolic syndrome. If we give statin to these patients, we can prevent the cholesterol deposits even in the tissue valves or in the severe aortic stenosis. We'd like to have your words of wisdom on this. And recently, a lot of reports are coming with a new non-statin therapy, what we call it bempedoic non-statin therapy, especially in the high resistant LDL. When the LDL is very high, it may reduce the cholesterol deposits. What are your views, sir?
Yeah. So certainly many of these patients are diabetics. Many of these patients also have coronary artery blockages. So they are receiving statins, which is to reduce the cholesterol. And it also helps in controlling the further damage to these valves. So statins, about 60-70% patients are on statins, but the drug which is required for this is just aspirin.
I've got one very important question, Dr. Praveen Chandra. You've done more than 300 or 400 patients in your whole span of whatever intervention on TAVI you've done so far. We'd like to know what is your success rate, number one. Number two, do you really find that this is a superior method of intervention as compared to surgical aortic valve replacement on the long-term basis?
So first of all, about the success of this procedure, let me tell you the success of this procedure is above 95%. So that is very, very predictable. And I have done this procedure in many, many parts of the world, in many countries, in many cities in India. And with all these teams, I have found that since the procedure is so predictable, if you run the checklist, the results are very good. So these patients really do very well. And typically, we are quite happy with the kind of outcomes we are getting in these patients.
One important question, when you did this procedure for last so many years, did you come across any complications in your series of patients?
sometimes, we do see that the valves are too hard. They do not give way with these valves. So in these patients, we recommend surgery. So that is why I'm saying that surgery is still there. We are not competing with the surgery. It is for those patients where surgery cannot be done. Surgery is high risk. Patient does not want surgery. There it is to be done. So, but let me tell you one thing very, very important, that initially we started doing this procedure in very, very high risk patients. Now recently this procedure for the last 2 years have also been allowed and have been sanctioned to be done in those patients who are low risk patients, which means where surgery can be done, and if the patient wants this valve TAVI treatment done, it can be done. So worldwide it is being done in all kind of patients, and our prediction is that in the next 10 years, maybe that 90% of the valves treatment which are going to be done will be without surgery. And already in US and Europe, it has gone beyond the numbers of surgery in the last 4-5 years.
I
Less
think
surgeries.
before this dialogue, I had a talk with two important interventional cardiologists in the United States. And I think, as you mentioned very rightly, the trend is more for TAVI rather than surgical valve replacement. In one hospital, like in Utah University, I spoke yesterday only. Dr. Pawan Sharma is there. He's a very eminent interventional cardiologist. He said, we do only TAVI. See the data. I think it's very, very thought-provoking and brainstorming. Everywhere in the world, the whole trend is changing because it's simple, easy, safe, practical. In 2 days, as you mentioned, person goes for his job. So I think the important point which comes in India is the cost. Is it really cost effective, expensive? What are your recommendations to the government of India? You as an authority and TAVI, what do you think? We should appeal to the government. We'd like to have your views on this, Praveen.
So as far as this availability of this procedure in India, we are now fortunate that the government of India has already approved this procedure 2.5 years back. And now it is available with us. The valves are available with us because earlier we had to import these valves. Now they are available. And if somebody wants to get it done tomorrow, it can be done tomorrow. So that part has already been done. And this is the only limitation I must say today of this valve treatment is that it is quite expensive. The cost of this is nearly twice the cost of a valve replacement surgery. But again, we are getting so much relief, and we are able to do this TAVR treatment in India at half the cost of the world, almost half the cost of the world. And if we do this with the Indian valves, because there are Indian companies who are making these valves, we have cut down the cost to 1/4 of the international treatment costs.
Two important questions, Dr. Praveen Chandra. Very important. At least I have learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of us, doctors, paramedical staff, public has learned a lot from our interaction. I like to have two important messages from you. One for the physicians all over the country and all over the world. What they should do to enhance the awareness about the aortic stenosis and for timely intervention. Do not delay the patient. Prevent death. Prevent morbidity. We'd like to have your words of wisdom, number one. And number two, what's your message? Concluding message for the masses. They should know about the aortic stenosis and TAVI by you as an authority. Dr. Praveen Chandra, sir.
So my advice and my suggestions are that first, of course, we have to diagnose this problem early, because when we become late, the results are not so good. So if we diagnose this problem early, we treat them early, then the results are very good. So the physicians should certainly look forward to checking these patients who are coming with these symptoms. The patients or people in general at home, if anybody beyond the age of 65, 70, 75 is having undue breathlessness, they should get an echocardiography test done. And if they are found to have this problem, they should be advised, or they should think of getting a checkup done in this direction. And if this test is or treatment is advised, they should seriously consider this treatment option. It is very effective, it is very predictable, it is very safe, and the chance of having a complication is very, very low. I will not say it is a 100% safe procedure, but certainly any treatment, compared to all the treatment options, it is one of the safest options available today. And I'm sure many patients will benefit from this information today, and they will be encouraged to get this treatment done. Many of my patients are in the range of 75 years, 80 years, 85 years, and they are really feeling very, relieved and very healthy.
Thank you very much for a very beautiful concluding message, Dr. Praveen Chandra. I must say that the words of Praveen Chandra should be taken seriously. He mentioned early diagnosis, timely intervention, irrespective of the age. Timely intervention is the need of the hour. And Dr. Praveen Chandra also mentioned that this should be handled by the TAVI experts. If you really want to improve the results of this technique, this is a very important message. And the very important message which we learned in this dialogue is inform, perform, reform, and transform the health of aortic valve in this country by TAVI. A very important message of this dialogue. And another message which we got here is we must act vocally as it is happening today, focally, locally, and globally, which I'm sure you may agree with me, Dr. Praveen Chandra has created this impact locally to globally. This is a very important message. I really express from the core of my heart the gratitude to Dr. Praveen Chandra for his enormous dedication, devotion, training, and tuning the masses and helping our society by enhancing the potential of this procedure and helping many people, not only in India, but all over the world. I express my gratitude to you, Dr. Praveen Chandra, my real tribute for your contribution, which you have been doing for the last many years. I also take this opportunity to thank Vrishali and Asha. It is not a vote of thanks. My tribute to them to bringing this high technique TAVI dialogue for the first time in the country, from India to the world. With these few words, I hand over the mic to Asha Kapoor, who is the Managing Director of FAM Health, for giving us this opportunity to be with us together for the public to enhance the awareness on TAVI and aortic stenosis. I learned a lot from this dialogue with Praveen Chandra. Over to Asha Kapoor, Managing Director, Tata Sky FAM Health. Asha ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chopra and Dr. Chandra. This was delightful. I was very engaged with this dialogue. I cannot thank you so much and enough for sparing time for, although a little technical, but hugely informative dialogue. Thank you so very much. You're both luminaries in the field of cardiology at an international level. And for the first time, we had such a nice, interesting conversation, which is technical on our platform. Cannot be thanked for enough. I know there are very few doctors such as you, Dr. Chandra, who are highly specialized and skilled in this area. And with this, may I request both of you, sirs, to keep this dialogue in conversation at a continued level, please. We would love to have more such dialogues in the future for the public so that we can all have better heart health and live a healthier life. Thank you very much.
हेल्थ, फिटनेस और पोषण पर पाए बेस्ट डॉक्टर्स की राय सिर्फ famhealth.in पर, और हमारी YouTube पेज माय फैम हेल्थ पर सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें।